Yeah. No, it doesn't matter. Boop.
Hi guys. How are you doing?
Good. We're figuring ourselves out. So we want to...
So I'm curious, is the screen share going to take this screen? Because I don't want it to take this screen. I want it to take that screen.
We have options. So we have a whole bunch of desktops.
Yeah.
Desktop 1, desktop 2.
Figure that out.
No?
Yeah, that part.
Okay.
Right now, desktop 2 has nothing on it.
And is that as it should be? Testing, doing the Hangouts. Can you hear me through your speakers?
Sounds good.
Hooray! How do we make you guys quiet?
Well, I'm just turning off the mic.
Okay, that's good.
Good to go?
I think it's good to go, yeah.
So,
As far as I can tell, if anyone joins the Hangout on air, they can just shout and talk over us, so, which is, I mean, not
Do you guys want to announce yourselves, or do you want me to introduce you?
we can announce ourselves, right?
yeah.
Hi, Ellie. I can turn off the mics of anyone who joins. Don't worry.
So shouting.
Oh, you could get the attention.
No, I'm gonna get
Okay, I'm not getting it, so I'll do it.
I mean, I could try, but
No,
I'll try to
Yeah.
ramble
not
it.
nice.
Okay, thanks.
That's exactly what Alan just prevented us from doing.
Yeah,
Right.
but I just don't understand. So it works exactly like a Hangout. It's not like a one-way Hangout. So like
Yeah.
if you join
Yeah.
Hangouts on there, they're exactly the same
Yeah.
as joining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. So
I can.
Hey, Gina, what do you see
everyone
in this Hangout?
yeah, so we should probably mute our.
Slides.
Okay.
Do you see the main slide?
Mute our computer then.
Do you see my notes in the little small version?
I think she just. You can see it on this one.
Yeah, I can see that.
You see this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I guess we should start it.
Sure. Yeah, and I think we should mute your computer just so that we don't have any background noise from other people.
Mute the audio coming out of it?
Yep. And I'll unmute it again when I do the Georgian Together.
Okay.
And then I'm going to grab a water bottle.
Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the LingSync tutorial. My name is Joel. This is Elise. We'll be guiding you through it.
Joel first, then me.
Okay, tutorial on LingSync. LingSync is a free tool for creating and maintaining a shared database for communities, linguists, and language learners. The goals of this tutorial are to explain what LingSync is, why you should want to use it, how you can use it, and finally to give you some hands-on experience with the tool. Of course, we value highly your feedback, and so anything you can give us in terms of suggestions, questions will be greatly appreciated. So here's a rough plan. We're going to just start with some introductions. I'll give a 30-minute presentation on why LingSync, explaining what it is and why it's useful. Then we'll have a video demo of the LearnX app that's being used to generate data for learning Georgian. Then we'll have an initial coffee period and a coffee break and a question period, during which time members of the team will come around to help you create a LingSync account so you can be ready for the hands-on portion of the tutorial. After that, Elise will give her kind of how-to on how to do data entry and interact with the system, and then there'll be another chance for questions. And then we'll do the participatory data entry thing, and then so it's it's not super strict, but that's kind of the thing the schedule we're gonna follow. Okay, so do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Louise McClay. I did my BA at McGill, graduated in 2012, and since then I've been working on some projects in the department, including I did a short internship working on LingSync and the actual programming part of it, and since then I've been doing a lot of sort of support and development and just generally getting to know the program as it gets to know itself. There's also a few other people up there. I'll let please have to introduce yourself. And then Lisa and Gretchen are in the audience and might be joking around as we do the data entry actual practical part. So I just want to go raise your hands, Gretchen, Lisa. Yeah, they also know a lot, so feel free to ask them questions.
Well, I don't really think I have to introduce myself in detail, but yeah, I'm Hisako. I've been involved in this LingSync project from the beginning. And since Gina Kuchi is the main programmer, of the software, but she's not in Montreal, she's in Georgia doing testing of the actual fieldwork. So partly I will be replacing Gina about the backend architecture and the thing, what function is in which interface and those kind of things.
Okay, great. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a PhD candidate at UBC in linguistics. I have a fair bit of fieldwork experience. I've worked on Blackfoot and Okanagan and a little bit on Lillooet. In the days when I was doing research, I did aspectual semantics, and I was working on aspect in Okanagan and Blackfoot. I've worked on noun incorporation in Blackfoot, and just recently I've been trying my hand at morphophonological finite state analysis of Blackfoot. Okay, I'm a self-taught programmer and aspiring computational linguist, and this is the title of my dissertation, the Online Linguistic Database Software for Linguistic Fieldwork. It's a program that's actually quite similar to LingSync. So in order to avoid duplicating efforts and combine our strengths, I've recently begun collaborating with these fine LingSync folk over here. Okay. So why LingSync? I have kind of two major goals here. First, I want to give you a good idea of just what LingSync is, and then I want to convince you that it meets a very real set of needs in the domain of linguistic fieldwork. I hope to convince you that it is a potentially valuable component of your fieldwork workflow. So here's a rough outline. First, I'm going to discuss the nature of linguistic fieldwork and argue that we have a lot to gain from collaborative approaches, by which I mean such deliberate and concerted efforts as research teams eliciting data and writing papers together, but also more loosely coupled efforts like just creating a database collectively, right, and sharing and reusing data between different types of fieldworkers. Then I argue that while there exist good collaborative tools and good fieldwork tools, there are not really any good collaborative fieldwork tools. Maybe you will disagree, and we can have a debate in the question period. But I think LingSync, at least, is the intersection of these two major classes of features, right? It has good sharing and collaboration features and good fieldwork features. It also has a number of other virtues that directly respond to the particular needs of linguistic fieldwork. It's easy to use and has a low barrier to entry, which we'll see as you guys just immediately set up accounts and start entering data. And that's important to fieldworkers because often we don't have a lot of time for training, right? It has this semi-automatic glosser functionalities and opportunities for scripting, which can automate repetitive fieldwork tasks. It has advanced search that can help researchers find the data they need quickly. It integrates audio and video with textual data. It uses Unicode characters throughout and has features to help with entering uncommon symbols. Advanced users can write scripts to automate the updating of multiple data points, sometimes called bulk edit or mass editing. Its data structure can be altered to suit a particular fieldworker's needs, which is a really neat feature. We won't really get into it in depth in this tutorial. And its import and export features help it to work well with other tools. So I just want to start with a kind of general definition of what linguistic fieldwork is. I say it's being performed whenever someone works with a speaker or speakers of a language in order to generate artifacts that encode knowledge of that language. So, and I think we can identify three loosely defined types of linguistic fieldwork. So we have documentation, which seeks to record, describe, and preserve a language. Revitalization, which seeks to increase rates of language acquisition and levels of use in the context of waning speaker populations. And research, which seeks to explain properties of languages by means of theories and models that have consequences for a wider body of knowledge. And here's a visual representation. Now, of course, researcher, documenter, and revitalizer are just, we all behave in these ways at certain points, right? But I think it's still useful to divide up our kind of goal-oriented mindset as fieldworkers. Now, researchers would benefit from easy access to the data generated by documentation and revitalization efforts. In my experience working on languages where data are extremely hard to come by, being able to quickly search for patterns in the data encoded in like dictionaries or descriptive grammars, text collections, pedagogical materials, it would have given me a big head start in answering like the foundational questions on my own, and being better able to spend my valuable consultant time asking the harder questions. Also, having access to the field notes and audio recordings of such documentary and revitalizer field workers' data would have been a big advantage. In the reverse direction, the data generated by research, I think, can be useful in these endeavors. For example, imagine what could be contributed to endangered language revitalization efforts if one could make the structured audio, video, and textual data that we generate as researchers easily and programmatically accessible. So I'm thinking of general purpose language learning games and lessons that are populated by such fieldwork data, right? And the Georgian Together app that we will look at in a few moments is in the spirit of this approach. So I'm going to talk a little bit about fieldwork-based research. The potential significance of research-driven fieldwork to revitalization can be seen clearly in the context of highly endangered and underdocumented languages, where academic research can constitute a significant portion of the work being done on a language. Right? Think about a field methods course. In my experience, they have about 5 years of impact. You have maybe 10 to 20 students working for 1 to 2 semesters on a language, and then they generate a lot of audio data and textual data, and then grad students keep working on that language, use it for their MA or PhD theses, and you end up generating a lot of data. And also researchers, as some of us know from experience, are not just eliciting contrived sentences that argue for esoteric theory internal claims. In order to get at those things, we really need to get a certain level of proficiency first. And in doing that, you generate a lot of high-frequency lexical items and constructions that are useful for other purposes. I remember being part of, we had a Blackfoot learning group, right? And that went on for like 3 or 4 years, and it was really great. And we elicited with the consultant, and we sat around, having lunch, and we generated a lot of data and a lot of, stuff that's really good for beginning learners, which is kind of rare for that language. They have some pedagogical materials in someone's file folder somewhere, but to have it digitally available would be really great. So a different way in which research can benefit learning and revitalization can be seen is illustrated in this example. So this is from Davis 2006. It's a manuscript, A Teacher's Grammar of Upper Schleppenpech, or Lillooet. It's a language of British Columbia, a Salish language, and it explains the possible interpretations of the imperfective marker wa with an achievement predicate. And here the grammar has previously explained the concept of a spectral predicate classification in English and in Lillooet, and it's using that conceptual model to help the learner understand when you can and cannot use this predicate, right? So I think having this kind of data with these negative judgments and positive judgments and the theory behind it, that kind of stuff can actually be useful to language learning projects and revitalization projects. And you don't often get that kind of data in your traditional descriptive grammars, right? Now I'd like to just briefly discuss the potential for collaboration between researchers and fieldworkers. This diagram represents the kind of research-motivated fieldwork model I'm familiar with. You have 1 or more speakers, and then you have a bunch of field researchers doing work with them, doing elicitation, generating primary data, audio recordings, transcriptions, and often interlinear gloss text, morphological analyses. I remember a lot of occasions where, when I was doing my research, I would be talking with my peers, and someone would tell me, "Oh, I found data that is directly relevant to what you're trying to figure out. You should talk to me," something like that. I'll give you it, but it kind of never materialized, right? It's hard to go through all your word notes or your hand-scrawled notes and find exactly what's needed by someone else because you have your own stuff to do, right? So what I ended up doing was haphazardly rediscovering those generalizations and wasting a lot of time that I could have been finding out new things, right? Now, if you had some kind of infrastructure in place for researchers to be able to easily give access to each other to relevant portions of their data, then, and if we could do that reciprocally, that would have been really great. So that's the idea here, right? So zooming back out to the full fieldwork picture, we can see that if researchers can share data and collaborate and and with these other types of field workers, if this could all happen, this would probably be a good thing. I think we can agree on that, right? So how can we do that? Well, the main point of the presentation is that LingSync can help us do that. It's a tool that helps us share data and collaborate in terms of fieldwork, but it also does a lot of other things as well. So what is it? Here's the one-sentence summary: a free tool for creating and maintaining a shared database for communities, linguists, and language learners. Let's get a better idea of what it really is. Okay, using LingSync, a field worker can create a corpus to house their data. Then other field workers can create corpora for their data. Then you can grant access to other users or field workers in the system at different permission settings, right? So you can give them read-only access to certain of your peers and full read-write access, administrator access. And you can choose to make certain of your corpora public so that everyone on the web can see them. You can also encrypt parts of your data. So this isn't the more advanced interface to LingSync, but in case you need to make certain things private for the community needs you to do that, or you just want to do that, you actually have quite fine-grained control over who can and cannot see what. And of course, and then you also have version control, right? So whenever you make a change, it saves a copy of what was there previously, and then you can easily revert back to what you had before. And then, of course, you can have multiple corpora. You could use for different languages. You could use them for whatever purpose you want. Now, LingSync is not a single software application, but a set of cooperating components. And I'll give you a brief high-level overview of the system because I think it gives some perspective and it helps in understanding its functionality. So LingSync corpora are stored on a server-side database, and interaction is mediated via a web service. What this means is that multiple different interfaces can be created for different purposes and contexts. So one such interface is the LingSync spreadsheet interface, which we will be using in the tutorial. It runs on a web browser and requires an internet connection. It works on all major platforms: Windows, Mac, Linux, and I think it works on like iPad and tablets and stuff. And it's designed for quick and easy data entry. And so that's what we'll be using in the hands-on portion of the tutorial. And here is a screenshot of some of my Blackfoot data from a Blackfoot corpus I created, trying some noun incorporation stuff. I poked him in his black eye. It's not a good form in Blackfoot the way I've constructed it. Okay, then we have this other interface, the prototype interface. This runs as a Chrome extension in the Chrome browser, but you can get that on all major platforms, so it's also cross-platform. It's more feature-rich, and perhaps its biggest advantage is that it functions without an internet connection, so it can be used in a wider range of contexts. And then when you reconnect, when you're back online, it syncs your data, right? I think we can think of this as kind of, there's more advanced features in this app, but the important thing to understand is that they both create the same data on the server. So you could create something in here and then later do more advanced stuff using the prototype interface. So, and here's a screenshot of that same, right, my Blackfoot data in the prototype interface. You can see. So then we have an interface that targets language learners. LearnX runs on the Android operating system, so it works on smartphones and tablets. It leverages the capabilities of these devices to create data that are useful for learning a language. And and a little bit later in the tutorial, we'll see a demo of Learn Georgian. We also have the LingSync audio web service. So the prototype uses the audio web service to automate the identification of utterances within audio files and within the audio of video recordings. So it uses a certain Pratt script to do this, which is a kind of a handy thing. This can speed up the tedious task of actually manually editing all your audio files in Audacity or Pratt or whatever you do, and then associating them with their relevant textual data. That data is really valuable, you can imagine, for revitalization or learning tools. and even for research. Often you want to actually hear what it sounds like, and is the constituency that has been proposed for some form really accurate given kind of the prosody that's happening that you can hear in the audio, right? So we would really like to have that data. So the audio web service helps to build that more quickly. Then we have the lexicon web service, and this identifies morphemes that you use to analyze your data, and then it can display those as kind of like a network, like a graph, so you can get a visual idea of how you're analyzing complex words in your database. And you can also use it to make corpus-wide modifications to your morphological analyses. So there are other components in the overall ecosystem of LingSync components, but I'm not going to discuss all of them here. But I hope this high-level overview can help you appreciate the value of kind of the approach, right? It works on many platforms, which is good for helping everyone, so everyone can contribute, right? It's not just stuck on Windows or something like that. By using the prototype interface, you can work offline and then sync your data online. So if you're really in the field without an internet connection, if that's the style of field work that you do, then you can still use the system. It caters to a variety of purposes. You can use it for more general fieldwork-related tasks or more language learning, social tasks, as we'll see with the LearnX demo. And a final advantage is that you can easily add additional components. So here's an example of, I've been working on my project, the OLD, kind of a morphological parser. And because of the way LingSync is constructed, it will be relatively easy to incorporate that into the system, and different corpora could use parsers like that if they need. And that could complement the semi-automatic glosser, which I'll discuss in a sec, which is already a part of LingSync. So we've seen how LingSync can help us share data and collaborate. It allows for multiple users to work together on the same corpus at the same time. You can control your data via fine-grained permissions. And on the prototype app, you have encryption to further offer control over access to data. Version control, make sure nothing gets lost. You can use it on all major computing platforms, including on mobile devices. You can use it for fieldwork research and also for language learning. The prototype app works offline and syncs with the server when connectivity is restored. And it also has an activity feed, so you can see what your fellow collaborators on your corpus are doing. These little symbols, I hope it's obvious. This means prototype, and this means spreadsheet, just to give you an idea of the next couple slides of what features are with what system. But we're going to kind of talk about LingSync generally, about all the features that are spread across the various components. So what about fieldwork-specific features? Audio and video integration. LingSync makes it so that audio and video files can be associated to relevant data points, and you can display them right next to your utterances and your other textual data. You can also record audio and video right into the app, which works on the spreadsheet and the Android as well, right? You guys aren't, okay. Using the prototype, you can drag and drop audio and video files right onto relevant parts of your data. And you can also host associate to externally hosted audio. So if you have a huge video file, you might not want to upload it to LingSync. You can put on Vimeo or YouTube or something and then embed it. Right? Then we have the semi-automatic glosser. So it suggests morpheme segmentations and glosses based on the data that you have entered. And as you're entering data, it makes suggestions. So this can significantly cut down on the time it takes to do all that, to do the morphological analysis task, right? And it learns from and adapts to the analyses that you provide. Context sensitive. When there's multiple candidate parses for your word, it chooses the best one based on what it's seen previously. And it does not force you to use specific glossing ontologies, like the gold ontology or anything like that. You're free to decide how you want to gloss things. And it assumes that you were segmenting morphemes using the LingSync glossing rules, right? Just hyphens and equal signs, that stuff we're mostly familiar with. Just there's the glosser. Search. Search functionality helps us find the data that are relevant to our research quickly. Spreadsheet app has basic search functionality that allows for conjunctive search, so you could search for something like all the entries that contain past and progressive in their glosses data. Right? The Prototype app has more advanced search functionality. Supported here are disjunctions and conjunctions of field-specific filters. You can negate filters, and you can use regular expression patterns. And using the Prototype app, you can also save your search results as data lists, and these can be exported to LaTeX format to create handouts or to start building papers. You can also define your own custom tags and then use these to search your data as you need. Field workers often need to work with special characters, unusual characters. All of the LingSync data are stored as UTF-8 encoded Unicode strings throughout, and so you can easily add IPA characters or mathematical symbols, lambdas and existential operators, that kind of stuff. And the Prototype app also provides user-definable kind of drag-and-drop keyboard widgets. Mass editing, being able to change all of your data at the, all of the corpus in a certain way in one go without manually, tediously doing that. That can take a long time. So the Prototype allows advanced users to make corpus-wide changes to their data using scripts written in JavaScript. So yeah, you could use this to say change, if you reanalyze a morpheme as you were calling it present tense and you had a nice gloss abbreviation for that, and then you want to analyze it as progressive aspect, you could use this functionality to do that. Okay, I'm not going to double it. It's customizable. In the Spreadsheet app, you can add comments to your entries, and in the Prototype app, you can comment like everything, right? Since different field workers have different conventions for structuring their data, the Prototype app has a very flexible data structure, which means you can define your own fields as you need, which is a nice thing. And it also learns which fields you use the most and displays those by default, so you don't have this cluttered thing. Okay, the Prototype facilitates the importation or migration of data into the system. So it's a nice import functionality. It allows you to interactively map. Like you can put a CSV file in there, and it'll recognize its tabular data, and then you can tell it, okay, this column is my utterance, and this column is just my notes, and this column is my translations, and then it will suck it into the LingSync corpus, right? And because programs like CSV, so that works with FileMaker Pro and Excel. So if you have anything that has tabular data, you should be able to export it to comma-separated values, CSV, and then you can import it into LingSync. Export. LingSync also makes it easy to get your data out of the program and use it in papers and other applications. So the Spreadsheet app allows you to export an entire corpus in comma-separated values or JSON, JavaScript object notation. It's just another widely used format for structured data. It also allows you to export a list of words or morphemes present in your corpus, along with their frequency of occurrence statistics. You can export selected entries as plain text. And the Prototype, you can export to comma-separated values, plain text, and JSON again. You can also export to LaTeX with your entries automatically formatted in interlinear gloss text format. GB4E, I think, is the package that is used. And you can also export all your textual data and its audio and video data in one big zip archive. So here we see the many features of LingSync that make it an effective tool for collaborative fieldwork, right? I'd like to quickly contextualize LingSync in terms of some of the other tools that field workers might be using. Here I'm just adding a structure category to categorize those tools that allow for consistently structured data, which is important because when they're structured, they can be programmatically manipulated and more easily used, right? Now, some of us might be using desktop applications like Microsoft Word or OpenOffice, the OpenOffice equivalent. This gives no structure, nor does it furnish any fieldwork or collaboration facilitating features. LaTeX documents are slightly better because you do have some fieldwork features like your IGT formatting. Then desktop spreadsheet applications do one better because you have structure to your data. And then when you have database apps like FileMaker Pro or Microsoft Access, you have more sophisticated structure and you can customize the interface to your needs. But still you don't have kind of the collaborative features, or it's not as easy to get them, right? And then if you use something like online word processing tool like Google Documents, you do have a lot of the collaboration features. You have like version control and multiple people can edit the document at the same time. But you don't have a lot of structure, so then you can get even better and use something like Google Spreadsheets. And Gina's been telling me that a lot of people actually do use Google Spreadsheets to collaborate on their fieldwork data collection. And then you have tools like Elan, which I bet many of you use for aligning your audio and your transcriptions and your glosses. Then you have Toolbox and Shoebox and Still International's older tools. And then you have Flex. These things kind of, they have structure and the fieldwork features. And now Flex is moving into making the collaboration stuff work. But it has issues. One of the main issues is that it doesn't really work on Mac. Right? So LingSync kind of hits the target on all of these. It's the intersection of all these three feature sets. LingSync is developed by linguists and for linguists. The developers, design advisors, testers, and documenters of the system are all linguists and field workers. We want the system to work well for us and for you. All the source is open. That's important not only because it means it's free, but it means you can make modifications, you can contribute, you could fork it and create a different project based upon components of it. We have experience using computational linguistic tools for low-resource languages, and we're always happy to receive feature requests, suggestions, or advice, and to welcome new contributors. So here's a bunch of links. We'll make these slides available. They're currently on my website. You can just Google Joel Dunham. But I think we'll put them on the LingSync website, so you can check out these links. So it'll be kind of recursive, but the website link is the main page of LingSync. The spreadsheet one leads to the online spreadsheet app that I've been talking about. Prototype leads to the Google Chrome prototype page. There's a bunch of video tutorials which are very useful for building your efficiency with the system. The white paper is good for understanding kind of the basic motivations that went behind building LingSync. And yeah, so then you can find the open source, the source code on GitHub. And if you want to contact the advisory board or the technical members, the developers, there are the two emails there. And also, I've compiled a bunch of links to other videos, demo videos that we won't be going over in the tutorial. Many people have contributed to LingSync in a variety of ways, and we're grateful to all of them for their support. These contributions include writing code, providing guidance, design decisions, using the tool and giving feedback. That's really important. Writing documentation and creating how-to screencasts. Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, so now we've done this. We're going to talk about you going to do the video now? Yes. Okay.
Thanks, Joel.
Let me know if you have it.
Thanks. So you've all seen LingSync, and you've seen definitely how it can be useful for linguists, at least, and field linguists, and can possibly fill in the gaps to sort of where consultants might also see a lot of benefit in being able to continue to have access to data that linguists have, written down or learned in their own ways, by being in on the shared corpus, people to have sort of after the fact learning that sort of thing. We also were really keen to make a tool that might be useful to language learners. And this has been somewhat of a pet project of my own because alongside doing fieldwork on the Mi'kmaq language for the last couple of years, I've also been trying to learn it as well as I can. And as a learner, I was finding that there's sort of a gap in language learning applications. A lot of the better ones cost money, either for licenses or for the program itself. There's just there's an investment there that not everybody on a student budget can afford to make. Additionally, for a language like Mi'kmaq, it's hard to go to any of the bigger name language companies and ask them to create useful materials for your language, or for the language that you're working on, because there's thousands of them, and they're only motivated to work on the ones for which they will have the most customers. So for under-resourced languages, or for specifically indigenous languages, a lot of the time, there just wasn't sort of a large number of people working to create language learning resources for learners of those languages. Despite the fact that there were a lot of linguists who were creating materials that, as Joel mentioned, could potentially be useful to language learners. So we kind of wanted to bridge that gap a little bit, and also make sort of a resource that would be distributed, so everyone can contribute. It explicitly values learners' knowledge alongside speakers and teachers, so anyone can make. They're generally in Georgian Together, or the LearnX model. They're generally sort of flashcard style, where you combine text, optional images, video, and sound files. Much as you may have seen on LingSync, and indeed the two formats are compatible. So hopefully it can be an automatic process to get your data from LingSync to Georgian Together, or potentially the other way around if you want that way. But since Georgian Together is an app for Android, it would be a little hard to demo it for all of you lovely people on my phone. So I'm just going to set up this video, and we can watch it on YouTube. So the video was made by Gina, who we've mentioned earlier. She's in Georgia right now, and working on developing this, and also just her own fieldwork in the area. It's not coming up, but it will in a second. Also, sorry for the pause. It's pretty easily Googleable also. Yeah. Oh. Step 1, got it on my screen. Step 2 will hopefully get it on this. Nope.
This is for learning Georgian with friends. So here you have a list of previous examples. We can take a look at 가마주고, which means hello. And we can also create our own new item. So I'm going to make a video with my friend about
Tu scegli le pomidori da chitre.
pomidori.
Pomidori da chitre.
Ah, okay. Now we'll stop the video, and we can play it again.
Tu scegli le pomidori.
We can pause it, and we can even write down what it means. Okay, bye everyone. It looks like we've lost the video feed from Canada, but we're going to say goodbye from Batumi, right guys?
Goodbye.
Yeah, let's say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.